Hi, this is Casey at Thompson RV in Pendleton, Oregon. Today we're looking at the Timber Ridge Outdoors RV 23 DBS. This is a 2021 model. It's the dry weight of 6,350 and an overall length of 27 feet 9 inches. We have an electric awning with an LED light strip that runs the full length of the awning. The awning is wrapped in Alumiguard the full length to protect it from the elements. In the front storage compartment here, we have a 30-foot long power cord on a twist lock. It's a 30 amp service. We also have a 12-foot long LP hose with a 90-degree elbow in here that will attach on that right-hand propane tank. This allows us to run any high-pressure barbecue, a Camp Chef, a Weber, anything that takes a little green bottle, all off of this guy. This is pre-wired for 200 watts of portable solar from Zamp. We can plug a portable solar panel in here, throw it out to the south, and that keeps our batteries charged while we're camping. This unit also has a 170 watt solar panel already mounted at the roof, on the roof from the factory, that was ordered that way. There's a 30 amp charge controller that's mounted in the bedroom. We'll look at that when we get inside. There's a battery disconnect in this front compartment. This battery disconnect switch, right now it's in the on position. If we turn it to the off position, that'll disconnect the batteries from the trailer. So when we put it in storage, we can flip that to the off position and our batteries won't be drawn from the trailer at that point. But the solar will still keep those batteries charged. So even with that disconnect in the off position, that solar panel up there on the roof will still keep our batteries going. This unit's optioned with electric stabilizer jacks. We have two switches in here. There's one for the front stabilizer jacks and one's for the rear. So we're gonna back into our camping location, get somewhat level left to right, disconnect from the truck, level up front to rear with that front tongue jack. Then we're gonna use these stabilizer jacks to secure it down to the ground. There's also a black switch in here that controls the LED light strip that goes over the top of the battery boxes there in the front. And then there's a load light in each corner. As part of the Outdoors RV mountain storage system, there's a ratcheting toy lock on the outside. If we want to lock up a generator, bicycles, lawn chairs, there's a bunch of options there. We have two 7-gallon propane tanks. We fill up both the propane tanks for you, so they're all filled up and ready to go. Again, we'll mount that 90-degree elbow on this right-hand propane tank that allows us to run any high-pressure barbecue. We have both the valves open, and we have an auto changeover regulator here in the middle. This auto changeover regulator right now is supplied from this tank here on the left. It's green in the window, so we know it has fuel. When it turns red in the window, this tank is then empty, and it's drawing off of the second tank. The supply lever is still going to be showing that we're on this tank. It's going to show red, telling us it's empty, but it's going to be running on the second tank at that point. As we spoke about, there's an electric tongue jack here at the front. It's a big, tall Barker jack, plenty of height for those new trucks. Other end of our storage compartment on this side, our freshwater drain valve is located underneath the skirt metal here. You'll see a white valve underneath there, and there's about a 2-inch line coming out of the center of the underbelly. That's where we're gonna dump that fresh tank. So we have an 80-gallon freshwater tank here. When we're done camping, we're gonna pull that white valve, and that's gonna dump that fresh water right there on the ground. Here on the side is where we're gonna hook up that 30 amp 110 power cord. This is on a twist lock, 30 feet long. If we go to an RV park, we'll plug into that 30 amp outlet there at the RV park. And if you want to plug it into the house and charge the batteries, we'll give you a 30 amp to 15 amp power cord adapter. There's a little blue light on the top of this, so lets us know that we have 110 power, and there's another blue light at the other end there. This one here is for cable hookup if we go to an RV park and they have cable hookup. There's also an antenna on the roof that's catching over the airwaves. And then this one here marked DSS, this one's plumbed for portable satellite. So if we have a Dish Network portable satellite system, we'll put that portable satellite here on the outside, and that'll plumb it inside the trailer. We also have an outside shower with hot and cold water on a 1-inch thick insulated baggage door. This one here is our city hookup. So if we go to an RV park, we're gonna hook our fresh water hose up to the water spigot, put a water pressure regulator in between. We provide that for you. It drops you down to about 45-50 PSI. And that'll plumb the water directly into the coach. So you're using right off that water spigot and getting that pressure there. So we're not gonna be turning the water pump on. We'll just turn our water spigot on, and that provides pressure to everything inside the trailer. Our black and gray dump valves are located down underneath the skirt here. The black valve, that's going to be for our toilet waste, and the gray is going to be for our sinks and our showers. That black valve and the gray valve we're going to leave closed if we stay at an RV park. We want to let things build up in the tanks. Of course, we're going to leave them closed when we're up in the mountains, but at RV park especially, we want to leave those closed, let things build up in the tanks, then we're going to open that up when we're ready to leave. That black valve will open, we'll drain out our toilet waste. Once that's empty, we have a Santa flush here on the side. That Santa flush is going to allow us to spray out that black tank. So if we have an old garden hose at home, or we have gray hoses here, for example, we can hook that hose up here to the water spigot there. We'll hook it up to the Santa flush, turn it on full pressure. That's going to spray out that black tank and get it nice and clean there. That keeps those sensors clean inside and keeps the waste from building up in there. Once we've run that for a few minutes with that black valve open, we'll flush the tank good, we'll shut that water off, and then we'll move over to our gray valve, open the gray valve to dump our sinks and our showers. We can store that sewer hose here in the rear. We can remove these rubber cap here at the end of the bumper. As part of the mountain storage system, there's a 2-inch receiver here at the back. This has a 250-pound hitch capacity, so if we want to put a bicycle rack at the back or one of the metal cargo trays, set a generator on it, gives us a bunch of options there. 10-ply Goodyear Endurance E-Range tire. And we have a big tube ladder here at the back. This ladder, we want to get up and down there a couple times a year. So we're going to get up there, check the condition of the rubber, and we're really going to be looking at that die core. That's the white stuff that goes around all the roof penetrations, the roof vents, the feet for the solar panel, for example. You're going to look at that, look for pinholes, cracks, bubbles, anywhere where there's any possibility for water to get inside. If you see anywhere that's questionable, we're just going to get a tube of die core. It comes in a caulking tube. We'll dab a little over that questionable spot and move on. We don't have to cut the old stuff off or anything fancy. Just add a little bit to it, cover up that weak point. Up there on the middle of the roof, where those roof vents are, the solar feet, and things like that, we're going to use a self-leveling die core. Now along the edges of the roof line here, we want to use a non-leveling die core because we don't want to settle and roll over our nice fiberglass. Now around the rest of the outside of the trailer, we're going to use just a clear DAP silicone like we'd use on a home. The 23 DBS features an outside kitchen, so we have a Suburban stovetop here with 2 burners. That propane is supplied from the low pressure port underneath here. There's also a second low pressure port that we can hook up a second barbecue to if we want to do a low pressure barbecue here on the outside. We have a hot and cold water hookup and a sink, as well as 2 110 outlets. So anytime we're plugged into shore power or if we have a generator running, we have 110 on the outside of the trailer as well. This here is the back of the refrigerator. There's 2 quarter turns here. That'll remove this panel off the back. If we hit it with a shop vac once a year, keeps the spiders from making a house in there. This here is the outside of the furnace. We have 2 speakers on the outside here. This is zone 2 on the outside and zone 1 on the inside. So when we play that stereo, we can play it outside or inside, independent, however we like. This black vent, this is the one that goes over the top of our stovetop inside there. So when we're cooking, we can turn that exhaust fan on, get that hot air out. We have a 10-gallon water heater, runs on 110 power or propane. We'll flip the switch inside for whichever side we'd like to run on. So if we're at an RV park, we're going to run on that 110 side of it. If we're up in the mountains dry camping, we'll run on those propane tanks at the front of the trailer. We can select whichever side we would like to run on with the 2 switches inside the trailer. There's also a 110 override switch on the outside here. So if we want to override that electric 110 element from the outside, we can flip that to the off position and that'll override that switch inside the trailer. That would come into more practical use if we were going to winterize it. We don't want somebody able to turn that element on from inside. We can flip that to the off position, protect somebody from turning it on while that water heater is empty. Let's say somebody did turn it on. We didn't have that switch off, but we don't have any water in here. The element eventually got so hot that it tripped these high limit switches. These high limit switches are designed to protect that element. So one side's 110 and one side's gas. To reset these, you just press them similar to a GFI and electrical outlet. When we're ready to drain the water out of that water heater, this anode rod fits there. It requires an 1 1/16 socket. We're going to drain it when we're not using it, and then we're also going to replace this anode rod every year or 2 as it gets eaten up by the minerals. Here at the top is a pressure relief valve, just like we have in a home hot water heater. The Timber Ridge 23 DBS features an 80-gallon freshwater holding tank. When we're ready to fill that freshwater holding tank, we're going to open this cap, drop our hose down in there, turn on about 1/2 3/4 speed, let that air come out while the water's going in. All right, let's head inside. Here up by the front door, this is kind of the brains of the operation. We have a 12-volt heat pad that we special order from Outdoors AV that's mounted to the bottom of that fresh water tank. So if we get into extreme cold weather, we don't want that water to freeze, we can turn this 12-volt heat pad on. It's physically mounted to the bottom of the tank. That allows us to turn it on in extreme cold weather or while we're traveling down the road. We also have a water pump switch here, and there's a second water pump switch in the bathroom. Gas water heater switch and 110 water heater switch. That gas water heater switch we're more likely to use when we're camping up in the mountains and we don't have access to 110 power. We'll flip that switch on. This fault light's going to come on. That fault light's going to be on for about 15-20 seconds until that water heater ignites. Once that water heater's lit, that fault light's going to go out. We can turn the 110 element on. That's going to turn on instantly, so there's no fault light. Battery gauge, our fresh, and we have our black and our gray tank gauges here. Those will illuminate across the screen to show us our tank levels. This first switch here, this is for the LED awning that goes, the lighting that goes underneath the awning there. And the second switch controls the lights inside the trailer here in the main. We have an extended retract for our electric awning outside. We also have our in and out for our slide out here. Here by the door we also have two 12-volt USB hookups and 12-volt cigarette lighter style hookup. So if we'd like to charge our cell phones, iPads, that kind of stuff, we can charge them here. These will charge right off the batteries at the front of the trailer. Behind this panel, this gives us access to our water pump. That water pump's going to draw that water out of our fresh tank and distribute it to the faucets. When we're hooked up to city pressure, we don't need to turn that water pump on because that's supplied from that outside city pressure hookup at the RV park. But if we're dry camping, we're going to turn that water pump on. This pump is going to pump water out of our 80-gallon fresh tank and distribute it to the water faucets. Now come from wintertime, we want to winterize it. We want to get water out of the system. One method of doing that is to pump antifreeze through the system. Outdoor RV provides this 3-way valve. We can drop this in down into our antifreeze jug and pump antifreeze through the system. Another way to do so is to pump air through the system with an air compressor. Here in the kitchen, behind the cabinet, we have access to our water heater. So when we're ready to winterize it, we're going to turn these bypasses, and that's going to bypass that water heater. So if we're pumping antifreeze through that antifreeze line, we'll bypass the water heater so we're not filling that 10-gallon water heater full of antifreeze. We can also use that when we're blowing the system out with air. Here in the kitchen, we have a single basin farm style sink with 2 removable covers. We have a knife rack behind the stovetop here. If you'd like to put your larger cutlery knives there, we can point the blades down and leave them in there for transport and storage. We have a nice clear stovetop cover. And then 3 individual gas burners. The burners are all sealed, so we're not getting food or anything dropping down inside. When we're ready to light our burners, we'll turn this to light, hit our striker, and kick on our burner. Same function for all 3. When we're ready to light our oven, we're going to turn this pilot light over to pilot on, press that knob in, and with our long Bic lighter, we'll put that right in front of that pilot light and thermocouple and light our pilot. Light over the top of the stovetop here, as well as that exhaust fan that we talked about. Then we have that 110 microwave. Power switch here for our refrigerator. The green light's on, so it's up and running. The next button over here, this is our mode button. A is displayed on the screen right now. It's in automatic. So when it's in automatic, anytime 110 power is available, it's going to run on 110. If 110 power is not available, it's going to run on propane. Right now we're not plugged into a building. We're just sitting out here open. It's running on propane. If I manually want to change it to just electric to run on 110, just gas, but I'll normally just leave it in auto and let it bounce back and forth between the two. If we're out dry camping, our refrigerator is typically going to be running on propane. If I bring a generator along and I turn the generator on, it's going to switch to that 110 electric side. Shut the generator off, switches right back to propane, just bounces back and forth. The next button here on the display is our temperature setting. So this goes up to 5 little snowflakes here on the screen. Somewhere between that 3 and 4 range is typically about right. This 23 dBs features 2 large bunks. Each bunk has 2 12-volt USB plugs for plugging in devices and charging them at night. Down here at the floor, this is our load center. Everything 110 on the coach is going to be on the breakers, and everything 12 volt is on the fuses. The breakers and 110 side, we're really looking at things like the air conditioner, the microwave, the main power coming into the coach, that kind of good stuff. On the 12 volt side, this is going to be broken into mainly different lighting circuits, our awning, slide out. Here's our thermostat, similar to a home style thermostat. We have heat, off, fan, and cool. Fan and cool is going to be distributed through the ducting there in the ceiling. Heating is everything in our floor registers. This unit has a max air fan here in the bathroom. This max air fan has 4 different fan speeds that will draw air out. That's controlled here on this wall plate. There's also a light switch, and then that second water pump switch is located here on the wall. For additional sleeping space, this dinette will make also down into a bed. We could pop the tabletop off here. I usually set those table legs underneath the dinette, and this tabletop will sit down here on the brackets. We just slide the cushions into the center. Now we've got an extra sleeping space. This 23 dBs is equipped with a 12 volt TV. Has a travel latch that goes over the top here for transport, and there's a swing out bracket that allows us to pivot it out towards the dinette or towards the bunks. Here behind the TV, this gives us access to additional hookups for our HDMI hookups, USB ports, and VGA hookups. Here on the wall, we provide a sheet that walks you through this in greater detail. But here on the wall, when we're ready to find a TV channel, we'll turn the booster on. This little green light's going to illuminate. That's going to send 12 volt power up to our antenna there on the roof. On our remote control, we'll hit menu, scroll over to channel, and hit auto scan, and that'll go out and find our TV channels. Again, this TV is 12 volts, so it's running right off the batteries on the front there. Our TV and cable are coming through this white coax here. And then we looked at that DSS port outside that was for satellite. That's where this one's plumbed to. This one down here, this is plumbed, so if we want to add a dish network system or a satellite system, we typically don't want to buy 2. Buy 1, we can place that unit here, and this distributes that same satellite system to the back if we want to add that second TV there in the bedroom. This is our DVD player, our CD player, AM, FM, Bluetooth, all through this unit here. So when we're ready to watch a DVD, we'll put a DVD in here and it'll show up on HDMI 1 on the TV screen. For Bluetooth, if we want to play music and things off of our phones, it's going to ask for a passcode. That passcode is going to be 4 zeros, just 0000. Zone 1 to play inside and Zone 2 to play outside. Alright, here in the bedroom, we have 2 12 volt USB plugs on each side of the bed, 12 volt cigarette lighter style on each side of the bed, as well as 110 outlets. Those 12 volt plugs, those are wired to our batteries. That way we can charge our devices right from those 12 volt plugs from our batteries. This here is our 30 amp ZAMP charge controller. We have that roof mounted solar up there right now. It shows that our batteries are at 13.2 volts. This will also tell us how many amps we're bringing down from that solar panel, as well as how many amp hours the solar panels put on the batteries. Our next button here, this is where we're going to select our battery type. So if we're running a lithium battery, a AGM, a wet, we can select those battery types here. Here on the bed we have a vent pillow. This we can use to plug our max air vent here for extra insulation or to keep that sunshine out during warmer weather. This max air fan is a 12 volt fan. It runs at 10 different fan speeds to draw air in or draw air out. So we can set this for a specific temperature using the plus and minus buttons here. And then if we hit auto, it'll automatically turn on when it gets to that temperature. Right now it's set for 70 degrees. If I wanted to increase or decrease that temperature, I'd hit plus or minus, then hit auto and automatically turn on as it hit that temperature. Right now it's 56 degrees in here. The fan is on, the lid's open. It's drawing air out at 10% fan speed. If I want to increase that fan speed, I'll hit the larger fan button or slow it down. If I just want to open and close the lid, I'm going to press this one here in the corner. Or if I want to have it draw air in versus air out, I'll hit this little arrow button that's kind of turned here. That'll change the direction of that fan. On the other side of the bedroom here, This is where we could hang our second TV if we'd like to add a second TV in the bedroom. It's got a 12-volt hookup, as well as a coax that's tied into our cable and antenna, and then that one that's unmarked that we talked about before that's tied in, so if we want to run that dish network to the back TV here. There's also 110 plugs as well, and then there's plywood blocking here in the wall to attach that TV to. Thanks for touring the Timber Ridge 23 DBS with us. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 541-276-4836 or visit thompsonrvinc.com. Thank you.